Hey, this is David from OT Focus, and today I'm going to talk to you about hand therapy salary, how much hand therapists make, and what you can expect as like a new grad OT. So hand therapy salary can be super confusing because there's so many hand therapists that don't report their salary because they report their salary as an occupational therapist to like the Census Bureau rather than a hand therapist. So if you look up hand therapy salary, you're not really going to get like an accurate representation. And there's a lot of websites that you can check out that just don't give you a real figure of how much hand therapists make. So I'm making this video and I wrote a post about this just so you have like a better idea in deciding if you want to be a hand therapist. In general, most hand therapists are going to make around $80,000 per year. And that's for outpatient in general, maybe a little bit more, like 80 to 84,000. Starting out, you actually may make a little bit less, but on average, 80,000 per year is like your general figure for hand therapy salary. It really depends on the location you work at, the facility or the type of facility you work at, and if you're working like full-time, part-time, or per diem. Like I started out as a new grad. I wanted to be a hand therapist, but I ended up not really having enough experience to work as a hand therapist. So I started out in rehab. So I got about a year working in a hospital, and I just kind of waited for like this hand therapy position to appear. And I had a friend who was quitting her job, and she was like, "Look, they're looking for someone to fill this job. They're desperate. Can you like come and interview?" And I was like, sure, like, yeah, that sounds great. So I went ahead and interviewed, and I actually asked for more than I would if I was a new grad because I already had been working for a year. I had hand therapy experience. I wasn't like a pro at doing hand therapy, but I felt like confident enough going in that I felt like they were going to be comfortable hiring me. And I gave them a higher number than I probably should have as a new grad, but they were so desperate that they accepted my offer. And then it was really nice because I ended up working for a surgeon at a hand therapy clinic who was able to mentor me, and if I had any questions, I could go to him for help. So it was really the best of both worlds because I was getting like paid like in a higher tier for hand therapy salary. And I was getting like this mentorship from an actual physician who was doing surgeries, and I was able to shadow him and just get like the best experience and training as possible. So if you're going in as a new hand therapist, I kind of recommend to take this route. I would say don't start working as a hand therapist right out of OT school. I would say wait 6 months or a year until somebody comes to you desperate for a hand therapist. You may need a little bit more experience, but in my situation, I just kind of felt like that was the best way to start out. So you just find someone who's desperate and needs someone really bad to fill a position, and they're going to be willing to pay a little bit more than what most hand therapists make. Okay, so what states are going to pay the best for hand therapy? Top paying states are going to be Nevada, specifically Las Vegas, Nevada. California would probably be next on your list. Arizona, and Washington, D.C., and also New York. How much can a new grad expect to make as a hand therapist? Typically, it's going to be between $35 and $45 per hour. I would say more on the lower end if you're just starting out. And if you're a new grad, most people are just going to try to get you to the lowest possible pay as they can. Anytime an employer offers you a rate, I always ask for more than what they offer. So that may be $2, that may be $5, but always ask for a little bit higher rate than what they offer. Okay, how much does a seasoned OT make per hour? Most hand therapists that have been working for a long time are usually going to be making between $38 and $45 per hour. That is not a significant amount more than a new grad. As a hand therapist, you're not going to be making as much as if you were working in a hospital or an acute rehab. Hospitals have the most money, and same with acute rehab, so they can usually be more flexible with raising your hourly rate and then giving you yearly rate increases. Okay, so how much does a certified hand therapist make? It's actually not going to be much more than a new grad. So a certified hand therapist on average is going to be making about $40 to $50 per hour. You would think that they would make more because they're certified, but certification, it really just makes you more marketable. It's easier to get a job being certified, but it really doesn't make your hourly rate that much more. Okay, what locations or what facilities in hand therapy pay the best? These are going to be your surgical centers. If you're working for like a hand surgeon, direct on. If you're working in private practice, you can make a lot more, obviously, as a hand therapist. But you're going to need like you're going to have to do a lot of networking. You're going to have to know a lot of physicians or hand surgeons. Other hand therapy jobs that pay really well are going to be hospitals. These jobs are so hard to find, but if you can get a hospital hand therapy job, that's like the best position ever because you don't have as huge of the caseload. If you work at a surgery center or if you work at an outpatient clinic, they're just going to have constant patients all the time. They're just going to be, I mean, I worked at clinics where I would see 6 patients in an hour, which is so unethical and unreasonable. So if you work in a hospital, typically you're going to see like 1 or 2 patients per hour, which is like, for me, that's like the dream job. Other settings that are going to pay really high, if you work as a per diem hand therapist or if you're like in a contract position, you can always ask for more money. For example, if you're just covering for like, if someone's on vacation leave, or if someone's on medical leave or sick leave, you can work as a per diem or a contract hand therapist, and you can end up making like a whole lot more money than you would as just a regular full-time hand therapist. What hand therapy jobs pay the least? It's just going to be like your typical outpatient setting where you have a manager and they give you a salary. Those jobs are usually just going to pay a little less. Same with like if you're a physical therapist and you're working at an outpatient clinic, you just usually make a little bit less at those settings because they don't have as much money. They're not going to have as many benefits, and they're not going to give you as much time off. Facilities that are going to have the best benefits in general are going to be like your hospitals and like rehab facilities. So I had been working for a hand therapist for about 1.5 years. And I ended up just I found another clinic that hired me as like a contract hand therapist. And I actually I started working for them for a little while. And then I didn't really want to work there anymore just because the pay wasn't that much. So I ended up asking for like $60 per hour. I was like, I can't continue staying here. And I'm a per diem therapist and I'm only covering your vacation days, so I'm gonna have to ask for $60 an hour or I won't be able to continue working here. And they actually like said, okay, we'll pay you $60 an hour. And I was really shocked that I was getting that much as a hand therapist. So you can get more money if you have some sort of leverage. So if you're just covering vacations or sick leave and you have hand therapy experience, you've been doing it for a while, ask for like a way higher rate because in those times they're just going to be desperate for someone to fill the position. Okay, I hope this was helpful, and just knowing a little bit more about hand therapy and realizing that as a certified hand therapist, you're not going to be making much more than like as a new grad or just someone who's been doing hand therapy for a few years. So if I were you, I would just get experience, spend a good like year and a half in hand therapy, and then try to find a way to leverage your position. And I talk about this more on my website at otfocus.com. I'll leave a link in the description below. I hope you like this video. If please comment, like, subscribe, and I'll catch you on the next one.